Good evening. You are listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, broadcasting to you from the Pine Hills Palace just west of Orlando, Florida. I have an Extreme studio, not one, but two streamers joining me tonight. And of course, we have from Great Midwest One, RDV, and also from Parts Unknown, Easy E, Eric Brain. Gentlemen, tonight we're going to be discussing Landman. It's good to see you again. Just before we get started, I want to say a little moment, take a moment of silence for all of us to recognize that Space Ghost, the voice of him, recently passed. A fond memory of my childhood that I would see on Saturday morning cartoons before the Wide World of Sports. And Easy Eric Breen, I know you know exactly what I'm talking about here, but yes, Space Ghost is no longer with us, gentlemen. That makes me sad. But to make me happy, I have all both of you guys here to join me to talk about Landman. Billy Bob Thornton, a show that Tyler Sheridan, his 437th new show that's on whatever channel. I only watched this, guys, honestly, because I heard it was supposed to be different, and a bit of a nerd. I like the energy industry, and allegedly he tried to make this very realistic as opposed to the tone of other shows without being too political here. RDV, you watched it based off my recommendation, initial thoughts, and then we'll go on to E for that.
To be clarified more then, not only just yours, but then Eric's like, holy shit, are you watching this show? So as I started tuning into it, and I was like, wow, Eric's talking about this too? Because Eric's my go-to as far as TV recommendations in the past. He's what got me on the Bosch. Now I started The Wire.
Mm-hmm.
I am giving up live streaming, just so that you know, Rob. I am watching all these shows.
Good.
Overall, 10 episodes long. 45 minutes each, except for the final episode was like an hour and 20 minutes. Which I was not surprised about that because they really had to wrap it up in that one last episode. Paramount Plus, and it's Tara Sheridan. We know him from Tulsa King. We reviewed it on his channel. So you kind of know what you're kind of going into. Kind of this, you're going to get the tongue-in-cheek kind of humor, but you're also going to get some of the the crass. And just people being schooled on environmentalist stuff, because we see that in the Tulsa King 2 as well, which Eric is now watching, or at least he has not finished season 2 yet. I know.
I did.
You did?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, Chinky.
The wig. It kills me every time I see it. So basic, yeah, this show is just Billy Bob Thornton. If you're a fan of Bad Santa, it's kind of the same attitude you're going to get from Billy Bob Thornton in this. He's got that cocky, he's got that smart attitude, smart aleck, doesn't give a shit. He's going to chain smoke, and he's just trying to deal with not only his boss, played by John Hamm from Mad Men, a very excellent actor, but he's also going to deal with the cartel. He's got his daughter who just flew in with her boyfriend, her new boyfriend, or I guess football player, which ironically is the guy who played the young version of John Winchester on the Winchester show that came out a few years back. Doesn't stick around much, but not only that, he's living with Dale, and he's also got Nathan, his two associates. They're all sharing this house. So his daughter, his hot 17-year-old daughter there, it just arrives, and she's not wearing much clothing as it is. Dale finds it out right away when he first meets her. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just, and then it just keeps piling on. But I love this because we were talking, Robyn and I were talking about this about last week, comparing the show when I first got into an episode into it. I was like, I don't know how much I'm going to like this or not, because as like Monarch, you have two stories going on at the same time. Monarch, it's a young version, and then this other girl, and then with this, you got Billy Bob Thornton, and then you got his son Cooper, played by Jacob Lofland. Two different stories going on and intertwining, and how they kind of start to intersect a little bit. And just, it's a fun ride, man. That's all I can say about it. It's like, this show is like the old shows. They don't give a shit about a backlash. They're gonna say, and they're gonna do what they want to do, and they're gonna have fun with it.
It's only intense, I think, by modern standards. And I'll tell you, one of the things we talk about with movies in general is themes, where we talk about how things are decade to decade or whatever. But one also thing, too, about movies and television to me, and Eric, you may have something to say about this when I ask you for your initial take on this whole season, is that, Americans, we tell stories, we have a certain formatted template, and we rape it to death. but Europeans generally kind of might be a little bit more philosophical, and they have scenes of stuff that's supposed to make you feel really bad. So it's more of like an emotional tonal type show. And so there's different ways to accomplish the same thing. So some people might like, I don't get it. It was too artsy. It was too European. It was too French for me. And there is a legitimate element to that. But this is definitely one of the types of shows that Taylor does with several A, B, C, D plot lines that he wants them all to converge. And depending on which one you get drawn down, kind of like a poker chino, once you get to the end, hopefully it's right there in the middle and it pays off for you. There's one particular angle I like a lot, which I'll talk about shortly. But Eric, please, longtime listener, longtime fan of the show, occasional guest and all that. What's your initial assessment of this?
First time caller.
Yeah, I have. This was my first Taylor Sheridan show that I watched.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a very good binge watcher, but I banged this out in a couple days.
Nice.
Because I wanted to see the next one. Right after I finished the one I just watched. Is the same way with Tulsa King. Yep. But what I liked the best about this, and you kind of touched on it for a second, about the generational thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was so refreshing to not see a show with any girl bosses, because even the shows that are done well, that play by these new unwritten rules where the woman can't have any problems or conflicts. You can't have a damsel in distress. It's got to be a manzel in distress now. And it wasn't oil man bad, oil protesters good. In fact, every time Rebecca, she was your, at first appearance, she was your cookie cutter, Gen X or whatever generation where the young people are now, with her being offended by language, et cetera, would like nothing better than to do away with oil altogether. And every time she got that way, Billy Bob Thornton would be basically Tommy Norris would set her straight calmly, intellectually, and just matter of factly. And she was not an unlikable character. I mean, she turned out there was some depth to her as well.
Absolutely.
All of the characters in this show had depth, and they were all likable in their own way. The main character, like Dale's introduction to Ainsley was crazy, but a couple episodes later, they're buds. And I gotta say, because I know I'll forget this, I gotta go as an aside. When Dale's ringtone for Angela, one of my good friends once upon a time, his ringtone for his wife was the Death March from Star Wars.
Right.
So the first time I saw that, that's probably the best laugh I got out of the 10 episodes.
Well, let's jump into these side characters. James Jordan, Dale, is just awesome. I can identify with him. There's a part in here where Ellie Larter, Angela, aka Billy Bob Thornton's ex, wife, Tommy. She's come back. She's moved in the house. She wants to start rearranging things. She wants to start making everybody force to eat healthy stuff. She gets rid of his Pop-Tarts. She throws them in trash, and in order to make sure he doesn't eat them, she opens up and pours water on them. I was just like, it's like, I understand you want to care about my health, but man, like, don't touch my stuff. Like, there's got to be some boundaries. And that's one of the things about her character when she comes in. She's not the typical housewife. You can see why they didn't work out. It's like they were fast in bed, but they were.
She's a strong personality. She's just a wild mare that needs to be tamed. And if he's spending all this time at work, it's tough to tame that. Not high maintenance necessarily, but you got to put her in her place.
The other roommate we got here, Cole Feore, aka Nathan. Nathan's basically in charge. He works with Rebecca, Kayla Wallace, and they basically are in charge of the numbers and stuff.
Last guy was the ops guy for all your manufacturing types. This guy's your numbers guy.
Yeah, your numbers
guy. You got to have them. They're important.
Yep. And then we get introduced to Cooper. Cooper is the worm. He's the new guy on this team. And they're basically and this is where it starts to get his story starts to branch out. And I was like, okay, so it's interesting. Yeah, we learned that he dropped out of school. He wants to make it big, in the patch where basically in West Texas where everybody works. And it's a gamble. They explain, you can win a lot of money, you can lose it real fast. And so he right away there's an accident at one of the things their drills they're maintaining. There's a gas leak, and there's hitting the hammer with hitting the wrench with the hammer, causes spark. He's the only survivor. He ends up, in the hospital, and he's just not, there. It basically eventually goes to see the funeral because there's three widows. He had just been started bonding with these guys. They were helping, and this is where we get introduced to Paulina Chávez, aka Ariana, who's going to become his main, like a possible love interest between these two of the season.
No, it's not possible, sir.
It is.
It is not. It's on.
It's on, and of course we get to see her wearing that for most of the season. So I mean, recap. So far we got Rebecca, who's the hot lawyer. Now we have Ariana, and this leads us to Larter kind of showing up. She's the third hot. Taylor Sheridan loves hot women, and he doesn't write them as being bimbos. He writes them actually as being
they have juice.
Great characters. They have personality, and they have flaws. They have strengths, all this stuff. And who's to say Larter is not bad on the eyes. You see at the press conference, she is good looking through this. Tommy Norris's ex-wife, and then of course this leads us to the daughter, Michelle Randolph on the right there, who is just like her mother. Well, maybe a little less smart, but she is all basically very promiscuous. I'd say that with a good heart.
Fake promiscuous. I'm serious. She's a virgin.
Yeah. Yes. And I like this. So basically, if you don't know who she is, if you've watched Yellowstone, 1921, she's in there. She's the first female to cross over from one project of Taylor Sheridan's to the other. And they are not shy about showing off her body inside the house. The guys are losing it. And she's supposed to be 17 years old, but she's 28 in real life, and it shows that she's 28. Because, dang. I mean, this is literally her throughout the whole entire series. And you could. It's kind of one of the reasons I'm liking it more than I normally would. I won't lie. I mean, but
there's definitely, I would say, in the show, no matter which angle character you're looking at, the way the episodes are constructed, there's definitely some themes of, obviously, not just of old generation, new generation, but even third generation here from a lot of the different characters. And so even the women here that you could argue are just there as attractive props that run their mouth a lot, they have what I would think is kind of a fun, interesting angle towards the end of season one. But then you get the classic, oh, hey, this guy's being, his son, right? That's the connection. That's Billy Bob Thornton's son. Yep. So he's on a rig, and they're doing something they probably shouldn't be doing. There's an accident. These things happen. I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. They don't chastise it, but it's paramount for what the show is going to be, because lawyers will sniff these things out, and they write it in a way where they mention it to you, but that's not what the show is about. You don't need to have it. But for this guy, in my opinion, the most fascinating thing about whole season one was after 4 or 5 episodes, getting into it, all of a sudden I'm going, holy crap, the son's angle when it happens is great, because to your point, RDV, he's a college dropout. He wants to be a geology guy, and some people think, oh, that's dumb. You go do that in Texas, or you go work and all that. You're making, he wants to do that. It's not a daddy didn't love me, whatever. He wants to do it on his own. So he's trying to do the right thing. And people, the thing is the people that are working with him, the wife of one of those guys, she just basically wants a shoulder to cry on, literally. He's not trying to do anything. But the other guys are like, hey, bro, you can't be doing that.
Yes.
But this guy's a scrawny fucker, but he chokes the fucker out. He knows a little MMA, so he's not a wuss ass.
He's in wrestling in high school.
Yeah, even though he's a scrawny dude. But this guy's whole thing is phenomenal. It's even more powerful than Billy Bob Thornton, especially with what he goes through, because it sounds silly. Oh, there's maybe a love interest between him and the widow, somebody they just started working with, and she's a single mom now and all that. It has nothing to do with that. It's about the scenes like when the hot lawyer comes in and they're negotiating the settlement and other things later. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, especially speaking of scenes with Cooper. Cooper basically ends up, befriending the girl. This leads to the friends of her ex-husband, who basically see them together, and they get very jealous, and they don't like this at all. So they threaten him that they try to beat him up at his where his station is. We're basically a bunch of bunkhouse where all the workers work. They try to attack him, but then eventually they do get the drop on him. They kick the shit out of him. He ends up going. He's found. He goes to the hospital. This leads to basically Tommy Norris, aka Billy Bob Thornton, finding out these, and he calls the sheriff. He's like, "Give me 10 minutes with these guys." Yep. And he gets
boss.
Yeah, the boss.
Mystique. No, just boss.
Yeah,
that's his name. Boss.
Yeah. But I'm trying to remember what his first name is. Anyway, this he's like, "Give me a bunch of your friends. I don't care if they're gang members or what, as long as they're packing." He's like, we're gonna go teach these guys a lesson, and they go up there and they do. They figure out, and then after beating them up, the cops come in. They basically plants like drugs on them, stuff. So it makes it look like they're basically like, and these guys go away for 30 years, the life, whatever. And I love, because Boss, basically his character, he comes back later on in the show too as well. He's also important parts. When the cartel starts throwing up, trying to muscle them, he's like, "Here, boss, get a bunch of your friends. I don't care, whatever. There's the whole job they have to do is stand there, have guns, and then protect me, pretty much." And they do. When the cartel sends 2 guys, and they all pull out their guns.
All right.
And the cartel in this, it's not even the main boss in this part. The cartel is an underling who's embarrassed because he's stupid. He's not smart enough to deal with Billy Bob Thornton. Billy Bob Thornton says, do you really think that, you can get away with this shit? It's like, who controls this? The DA will be right up your ass, as if you do anything this shit. They got, it's like, and so these guys, at first they back down, but then because the guys come in and they cause this with their guns, Billy Bob Thornton basically talks to John Hamm. He say, "Hey, can you reach out and get us help?" So he talks to the governor. Says, "Hey, can we move some of the National Guard over here?" And so this is where we get Ben Browder.
Target practice, yeah.
They're it's a National Guard where they do their other training facility stuff, where they fire mortar shells and they helicopters and they shoot stuff. So I know we get to see 3 episodes with Ben Browder in it, which is really cool, because Ben Browder, if you don't know who he is, he's John Crichton from the Farscape series that was really popular back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Did some other stuff. So it was great to see him again. I almost didn't recognize it because, well, he's much older now than when it's been a while. Anyway, so the cartel is just like basically a pushover in this until the very episode, and then we get introduced to the Heavy, the actual boss. But before we get to that, I want to talk about John Hamm's wife, Demi Moore, who was recently just snubbed at the Oscars. Mm-hmm. She doesn't do much in here, but her scenes, she's a good actress. There, honestly, I thought she did well in this. I wouldn't mind seeing more of her in this.
She doesn't do much, but it makes you think that she'll be involved more somehow, right?
Yes. Especially what happens with their husband. We find out that he's basically already had multiple heart attacks before. Mm-hmm. So getting back to Cooper, because they want to pay out money to the family, the corporation does, and bribe them off with $250,000, and then basically Rebecca is a shrill. She just doesn't want to pay him more. She just wants to just fuck over the families, the loved ones who died at the accident that Cooper was in.
I'll disagree with you on this, but go ahead.
No, but I mean, because even Billy Bob Thornton even talks about his like, we take care of the people here. It's like we don't fuck them over. But anyway, so she's gonna do that, and the girl, at the last minute she decides kind of not to, and then she holds off. But then because Cooper, after he was in the hospital, he gets out. He can't go anywhere, and stuff. She decides to bring him back to her place. She takes care of him, nurses him back to health. So when they you get Nathan and Rebecca show up to do this, try to persuade her to talk again, and she basically goes and talks to Cooper, and Rebecca doesn't like the fact that Cooper's there. It's like, and Cooper and she basically threatens Cooper. It's like, it's like, how do we know that you didn't set this off? To bang the guy's wife. You could have murdered him on purpose. And basically,
yeah, it's legit. Right?
Yeah. So she does. So I'm saying she does this. I mean, she comes off as a little bit like angry.
She's just freaky. Being a lawyer, right?
Well,
so that's what they're supposed to do. And just like the numbers guy, he's effective at what he does there, and it's a different kind of temperament, but I don't think he's trying to screw him. He's trying to get ahead of it, and he says, hey, we need to do this, and it's a good thing, and it's explained to him, right? And that's kind of how it goes. And one of the things I was going to ask you, Eric, coming from an older generation like myself, I think it's quite obvious that when we look at like John Hamm's character, to me, he's perfect to role like this, small dose where he looks good in a suit, looks authoritative. The longer he talks, the less smart he appears. But I think he was fantastic. But it's clear there's various levels of class in here, whether it's all the cholos and wannabes they're wanting to work their way and make good money because it's the only place they have.
Yes.
The respect that Billy Bob has there.
Are hired at the patch.
Right. But in here, I just was curious, because you're an old TV buff, if the way the show is set up, if that reminded you of, say, some older TV shows, because things aren't written like this normally.
No, they're not. And I'm going to disagree with you on the when Monty said the more he talks, the less smart he sounds. I think one of the things that made this show work as well as it did was that he wasn't your typical, so many times rich guys like that are portrayed as corrupt idiots. If they're left to their own devices, they're going to have to be saved by the strong woman or the strong anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But and right, they used him sparingly, which is kind of by design. But one of the things about Monty and Tommy came up together. They both hit it big.
Mm-hmm.
Monty gambled and won. Tommy gambled and lost. And now basically Monty, since they were old, they've been friends since, childhood. Monty basically gave him a place to try to rebuild his life. Now, I said that was someone wanted to say, in case I don't get a chance to later, is one of the things about the show, a couple of things about the show that I really liked was, Cooper's growth as a character.
Absolutely.
During the show. He, from the first glance to where he ends up, you realize there's so much more depth to this character that he turns out he is. Now, he dropped out with 3 weeks to go for his degree. So he was basically there. And you realize the longer it goes on, he could have been anything. I mean, he outsmarts their corporate attorney.
Yes.
And, and so, and like I said, and the Monty character, which again, like I said, turned out he's actually a good man. And, it was kind of tragic his fate was tragic. But the other thing I liked was in the first episode, and this isn't easy to do, the character, the Mexicans that Cooper was working with.
Yes.
Came to care about them to where their sudden death had an impact. It hit you. It's like, holy crap, I did not see that coming.
Yeah, especially he's going to work with them the first day. It's decided by design because his dad wants to keep him safe. So, and then after they're working, they basically they haze him. They make him climb this this ladder, a rig, where he almost falls, hurts himself, and after that, they drop him off, and the guy's like, "Hey, what do you do for supper?" He's like, "I don't know." It's like they invite him over, they have a barbecue, and then the main guy Armando basically starts to say, "Hey, if we're gonna work together, you're gonna have to learn Spanish. So as along the way, whenever we do something, I'm gonna tell you what the word of it is. Keep asking."
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm also gonna say that,
and I was like, "Oh," because like I said, when that next day where they go and that happens, I was like, I was not expecting that. It's really right. It does make you kind of care about, and then just like, gut punch. It's like, wow. And that wasn't a nobody actor. Like I said, that was the actor.
Michael Pena.
Michael Pena.
It was a guest shot.
Yeah.
But I think it was also designed to contrast with that they weren't all good salt of the earth people, because the good ones died. The shit heels were around to make Cooper's life miserable.
Michael Pena said about he's like how him and the other guy basically they'd done jail time and stuff with the other guy, the one who's Ariana's husband that was working with them, He said he went to school. He didn't get in the patch. He chose to be, and he didn't have to do it here, but he chose because he wanted to work. So it's like, and it also builds up the sense, that the patch is the number one source of income, but it's a gamble. People, and it's good and full of good people and bad people, because there ain't much to do over that area. Everybody wants to strike it big, and I love. I said, like, we go back into Cooper, his growth after he basically outthinks the Rebecca and gets $1 million for each of my family members. He quits his job, which causes Monty then to have his heart attack. He goes in the hospital because of that.
Yeah, no, I don't think that caused it.
It was the last. It was the last straw.
Ticking. Yeah, he was on the clock.
He was going to go
regardless. Like I said, his life, his lifestyle, and his previous heart condition.
But so anyway, though, it just it's just added more fuel to the fire. The fact that he was going to go, But so Cooper basically he quits. And they don't have no idea what they're doing as far as if they're going to be an item or not. She feels guilty because every time they go to kiss, they're interrupted by somebody. And eventually Tommy sits down with them. He says, like, what? Because he learns of this, that they're through Nathan, that Cooper was there. He's like, what the fuck, So he basically talks to Cooper and sits down and talks to them at the dinner and stuff. He kind of insults Ariana, I guess. Like, what the hell is this shit? Are you guys actually?
No, it's not insulting.
Well, no, she takes it as an insult. He was literally asking a question because
what is this? What's going on? He's treating them like young adults. So he leaves after an apology, and if anything, that helps Cooper because she's still grieving. And I love what Cooper basically she says, she says the difference between Cooper and everyone else is because when he looks at me, he looks at me no way other man has ever looked at me, not including my husband. She's fallen for him real fast. And Cooper is not the guy who's going to take advantage of her. Cooper said, we'll take it slow. If I'll leave, I'll leave, There's a scene where he after he starts, because Cooper has character growth too. He basically starts becoming a lamb. His job is basically, he says, to her, I'm looking at inside the, he has a plan.
Patch. Yep. The gray areas. I'm going to go invest in these other ones that aren't, these other drills, get them going stuff. It's a gamble, but I'm going to try it, So while he's doing that, she starts throwing away her husband's stuff. Not throwing it away, putting it in a box in the garage. She comes across her wedding album and all that stuff. She starts crying. He comes home. She quick runs to the shower to hide his stuff, and then he's sitting on the couch. He notices it. He starts going through it, and basically, like I said, now some say like, "Oh, this is kind of a wuss of a man to do this," But he said, "Hey, if you want, we'll go through this, one box at a time. But if I have to, it's and there's no rush, and she basically is at this point, she's they're gonna make it. They're as far as it goes, now as far as his job prospect and stuff, he's already got 2 guys that signed the farmers to sign over their lease and stuff, to lease the land for drilling oil. And I hopefully Cooper in the second season does really well. But there at the very final episode, we get.
Oh, hold on there. Before we get to the final episode, there's a couple things we want to catch up on. I think at least because I think the final episode, something that Eric had mentioned earlier about how you don't normally like to binge watch, but this one you got it through in a couple days. It made you want to see it. That's one thing the show's done very well. The Cooper stuff I think was really, really great, and whatever's going on. But I have a confession to make to you, Eric, and to everybody listening live. I would say this in all faith and consciousness. I'm completely sober. I have not imbibed on any particular things that might affect my memory, what I'm about to tell you. And as the host of the show on hiatus, Rob's Redskins Review, I got to sit there and tell you the singular best scene, and I keep going back to it to tell if it was just in a moment, was the real life appearance cameo of Jerry Jones, owner of the Dallas Cowboys, the mortal enemy of my Washington Redskins.
Final episode.
And he's sitting there with John Hamm. Yep. And he's talking to him about what's important in life and all that. And I don't know how much of it's scripted or not. And I went, holy Jesus F. Christ, pardon my French to anybody that's religious or if that offends you anyway. Mm-hmm. He crushed it. And it occurred to me that when you see Cooper, he's not being a simp, like he's trying to do things to sleep with her. He's like, no, the right thing to do in this situation to take care of people, I'm going to cut the grass. The right situation here is not tell her what to do, but if she asks my opinion, I will give it. not be an advice giver. This guy's
And
supremely mature beyond his years and all that too. And that's kind of what I was asking you earlier about, if that reminded you like any other shows where they had something like that. This kid's just, he's an adult and he's just not there yet.
Yeah, the Jerry Jones cameo was the 9th episode, because that was when he died at the end of the 9th episode. But I would think though that as a Redskins fan, one reason to love that was I think Jerry Jones was basically speaking his real life, and it made, if you're a Cowboy fan, you come to realize, yeah, we're never going to win while he's here.
But you know what? Listening to him talk that heartfelt, I'm going, man, if somebody had a speech like that about me, I would want to work for him. It was that compelling.
Oh yeah, but you realize that being with his family was more important than winning championships.
Yep.
Without
Absolutely.
saying it in the context of the show, you realize. So it had real world. Yeah, go ahead, Bang.
I was gonna say Jerry Jones. He says it in his speech. He says, I bought the Dallas Cowboys thinking it would get me close to my daughters, but I realized it was just me being selfish. I was the one happy owning the team. So like I said, I don't know how much that was scripted. I mean, I don't know the situation between what's going on with Jerry Jones, but I'll just say every time I look at him, he looks like a goblin. I know he's old, but man, like this guy did not.
His last plastic surgery didn't go well.
No, it did not.
No, seriously, it didn't.
He looks like the guy who plays Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
But
last
anyway,
episode. Let's knock this out.
Final episode. Well, the cartel interrupts. What's his name? Bob Thornton, as he's leaving the hospital after again. Basically, the plan is because Monty's dead. In order to basically the will, he put Monty as president, or Monty put Tommy as president. And he wanted to keep the lawyer girl on, Rebecca on, and he doesn't know why, but he calls Rebecca, says, "Meet me at the oil field," and then he meets her with Dale and Boss and I think a few others, and he basically says, like, "This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this," and she's like, "What?" She says, "No, I'm gonna speak to Monty." He's like, "No," he's like, "Monty's dead." He's like, "No," and she's like, "Well." And he's like, he basically explains that I'm the new president and I'm keeping you around because Monty saw something in you. I don't like you. You don't like me, but at least work together with Nathan and we can make this work, because the bottom line is he had promised to Monty's wife, Demi Moore. He said, the whole thing, we're going to try and strike it one more time. And then we're going to maximize as much as we can. We're going to sell some houses. So there's just $300 million left for you. And your kids and your kids' kids, will be set, that we don't have to worry about, because Monty wanted you to be taken care of it, even though he wanted, she says you're going to be remembered. He's like, and he says Monty he has no problem with that. Monty will be remembered. So I like the fact that we talked about Cooper cutting the grass and doing stuff, for Ariana. He gets it from his father. He gets it from his father.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
He sincerely cares about the people that he's worked with. He's trying to think in a situation, what's the right thing to do here for the people involved and all that. That's not an easy thing to juggle.
And we also got to touch back the fact that he does not get along with his mother or his sister. And the one time they had a family dinner, it's like, this is when basically they're left at the dinner table. Billy Bob Thornton and Elliot Larter up there having sex upstairs. He could hear himself fooling around. He's like, she's smiling. He's like, and he says, like, "What are you smiling for?" She's like, "Because." It's like, "You're only smiling because you don't remember what it was like when they were married. You were too young to remember and stuff." So, and he doesn't get it wrong with them. He's basically, he's the only one in the family that's not spoiled out of the two kids.
Now there's a line though where he said, they're brother and sister. They're supposed to hate each other.
Yeah,
I thought it was perfect for the time for the scene.
Yeah, but I mean, the vast differences, opposite personalities of the daughter, and him, Cooper, who's like 20. We learned he's like 23, 24, right around there.
Something like that.
Yeah, or she's supposed to be 17 years old. She's still a little bit more immature. But so I did like the fact, touching on that, the fact that their personalities did clash a little bit, but Cooper wasn't rude, Anyway, getting back to basically, so after Monty talks to Rebecca and Nathan and Dale and stuff, and he ends up driving away, and he gets stopped by the cartel. Well, the one punk from before, basically, the one who'd had him down on his knees in the very first episode, now takes him over at the border and into Mexico or somewhere near there. I'm not sure if it was I think it was in Mexico. Yeah, I think
Chihuahua.
Yeah. Anyway,
I don't know, somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere. Anyway, he's tied to a chair or zip tied his hands in his chair, and then the guy's he's still got the hood over him, and he starts trying to intimidate him. It's like he's got the gasoline and stuff, and it's like it's like. Even though they're doing all stuff, it's like the boundary is like, will you shut the fuck up and light me on fire? Or it's like I'm basically embarrassed the guy one last time in front of his man, and the guy hits him with the hammer a couple times, and he says like, oh, when you take away your senses, it heightens everything else. Like, he's not freaking Daredevil, bro. How stupid are you? Yeah, and there's a scene where he takes a nail and he hammers it into his leg. Oh, it's just like, this is kind of gross a little bit. But we're introduced because after this, basically, all of a sudden we start hearing gunshots, and the guy's panicking. He had no idea what's going on. We get to Anthony Garcia popping up as the main crime boss. Yeah,
Andy.
Yeah, Andy Garcia.
Yeah, you said Anthony.
At this point, they look the same.
That's a shtick with names.
I know, and I'm there to correct him, and then he gets mad at me.
I guess
Andrew is not short for it. Never mind.
Anthony. At this point, they're both irrelevant. Well, Andy's more relevant now.
No problem. No problem. Pixel, continue.
You can't call him Pixel because Pixel wouldn't be here.
But we have Andy Garcia. I had until Rob said, and you said, like, oh, Andy Garcia's in this. I didn't know the fuck who this guy was. I don't recognize him.
Come on, man.
That's supposed to be Andy Garcia. I had no idea when I saw him. Like, okay, who is this old guy? I have no idea who he was.
Because he is old.
I know. I'm just saying. I didn't watch movies like
he's 70 now.
Yeah. I did not recognize him one bit. I mean, I think I've seen but 2 movies with him in. I didn't watch the Ocean 11s. I think he was in that. Was he in Heat? Didn't watch that. Yeah.
And maybe we're getting a Rise of the Goombas or something because with Stallone and all that, and now Andy Garcia, it's reminded me of like 1984 or something. Look, I'll close with this. I mean, one of my issues with watching television shows, especially the quality writing when it acts like it's so great, is that it's only 10 episodes. You can flesh this thing out. This show does feel very strongly constructed, that it's in the style of Tyler Sheridan. I don't know about his other shows, so I'm not going to compare
tons
them.
of nudity. So just point that out too. If you're sensitive to topless women and bare asses,
I mean, it's
and old folks go to the strip club.
It's refreshing to see. Well, because that was the last thing actually I was going to bring up, is the big angle that seemed kind of funny, but actually, I think it's a bit important because the one thing I mentioned to Eric earlier about the role of classes in here, but also that means ages as well. You really have 3 generations going on. The mother, daughter, because when you do when you're rich, you're bored, so they end up kind of figuring out, well, we're just going to go to this, like, not hospice, but like family care thing and take these old people out and have margaritas and party time. And it's supposed to be kind of funny, but again, just the way the show is going with the young people falling in love, the older people, him reestablishing the relationship with his ex-wife, that somehow this is might turn into something bigger, because it's true, the comment that made in chat there about how they really do love each other. It's just the logistics of how they're going to do it and their needs getting met. There's some of that stuff in here. So really, and I don't want to sound really horrible about the show. It's a drama. It's not really an action show. There's a lot of elements going on, but really is about generations and relationships between those, and how do you effectively communicate between them. It's kind of what I see.
I'm going to ask you a question. When it came to the nursing home and she went in there, she started getting alcohol and stuff, showing up there. Angela did you think that she was going to get in trouble at all? Because you cannot, it's like she was trespassing.
It's not necessarily
going to come back to bite her in the butt. Because I was really thinking that, one of the old folks is going to die and then she's going to get in trouble.
I didn't get that.
I didn't get that vibe. I mean, I've spent some time in some of those facilities over the years, and
because they're a medication, you're not supposed to mix with alcohol.
Well, that was even brought up, right? But the point is it's a TV show. We let it go. We understand that the idea of what it is that they're trying to do. There's some wiggle room with some of these types of things too, especially if they're functional. They're not mentally incapacitated. So it's not like a hard and fast thing too. And that's just where you blur the line on it. But for some reason, the fact that you got John Hamm's character dying often, the Jerry Jones thing, then you got the young son and his relationship growing up with her young husband dying. It's interesting how he's got some of these similar, like as we've said before, RDV and other stuff, similar stories, but just with different sets of characters and all that too. So overall, I think it's a good show. I have a tough time with 5 or 6 things going on. Like I say, the first Yellowstone that I tried watching, I didn't really care for a lot of the characters, so it was hard to get invested. But they do a great job of crafting this towards everything converging towards ends, which doesn't always work.
There's one final thing I want to bring up: the coyote. We get to see it. I think one of the last 3 episodes, or even maybe before that, we get to see a coyote. He's walking as Billy Bob Thornton's walking on his property. He sees this coyote out there to stand in the woods and beyond the barbed wire. He walks out there. His neighbor shoots it. He's like, "Damn, pet killers and all this stuff." And he's like, "Oh, what the hell?" And then the very final episode, he sees another coyote looking at the corpse of the other dead coyote. He's like, "You better run, coyote." It's like you're in danger.
And there's coyotes out here.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
What do you make of the group behavior of coyotes and RDV?
Well, coyotes are it's like they're gamblers. They come for, like I said. I was actually asking, what do you think the metaphor was supposed to be, or tell me what the metaphor was supposed to be.
Well, wolves kind of act unique. I'm not going to say coyotes act the same, but they have like a brand loyalty. So to me, this was not supposed to represent the coyote families that are bringing the bad guys over and all that. To me, it's you could almost say, is it man versus nature and all that stuff?
Yep.
Because this is not a pro-environmentalist show. This is not anti-environmentalism. This is what we've got to do. That's how it is. And so the show's known for a lot of little isms that Billy Bob Thornton spews in each episode to kind of explain to the modern audience what the reality of it is, and that's true. But there is something horrific about it, right? Because they're the ones that were there, that had the land first, the coyotes, and then we come upon it. How do we maintain a working relationship with them? Well, hey, guess what? They're kind of like a pack animal in a way too. And you're right. It's nice that they put that in there. I think that was a good observation.
I almost got the belief that he was saying that they shoot coyotes around here, but is that basically he's thinking himself as another coyote? He's got to be careful, or he's gonna go. It's because it's a harsh life. So
yeah, it definitely is. Yeah. Eric, man, final thoughts, man. You've got that. You're like a scalpel. You dig right into the heart of almost all these shows here, especially with your vast experience of other shows that we've only begun to start to talk about and all that too. I'm really curious as now that you've had an opportunity to watch all of the Tyler Sheridan show, what made this special for you?
The fact that it felt like something that could have been done 25, 30 years ago before political correctness, social justice, and the new unwritten rules took over every facet of entertainment. It just felt different, and it was enough to make me, then I said, go watch 19 episodes of Tulsa King, because this guy's got a formula that's very entertaining. It knows when to be serious. It knows when not to be. And that's what I said, season 1, tremendous success. I said, as far as like the senior living thing, I think that whole plot line was to add depth to Angela's character. Yes, she started as a lark, but she got into it. It became important to her to show that there's more to her than just being a trophy wife for a billionaire, because that's why she left Billy Bob in the first place, or Tommy in the first place.
And you see her when she went to go divorce, or to go back to her Bentley, she sees the new missus, 20 years younger, and see how offended she was. And it's just like a lot of cat fights in this,
As well, there should be.
Yeah, and I guess I was like it's one thing about these Taylor Sheridan shows. He chooses women,
they got
not
so far.
their looks, but not only are they beautiful, but they're fiery. attitudes.
I guess the only thing missing from Rania would be an Italian woman.
Yeah.
One prediction for season 2.
Yeah.
There will be at some point a triangle between Tommy, Angela, and Cammy. Book it.
Cammy.
That's Demi Moore's character.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Demi's not signing up for 30 seconds every few episodes, and that's it. Or maybe she is.
I'm curious to see what's going to happen with Rebecca's character now that she's working for Tommy.
A lot of clashes and a lot of grudgingly mutual.
I'm not. Sorry, I can't even say it in the straight face. An unlikely alliance.
Like, I know. Will Dale get revenge for the freaking fruit cups and shit? He could get his.
I think you might even see him add. They obviously will add a character or two. They may even bring in a love interest for her. Yeah, because I said she there was more to her than most characters are portrayed like in shows like that. So, yeah, at least I hope there's something for her.
The guy I feel bad for the most in this whole entire series is Nathan. He lost all his furniture because Angela comes in and says, "Oh," and he gives her the furniture. He's like, "We were renting that furniture. We don't own it. You got rid of it. What?" And like his whole entire life got like turned upside down. He's trying to work. He's got Tommy's daughter walking around in her underwear and bikini, bending over in front of him. He's trying to focus. And it's just like, even when Rebecca comes over to talk to Nathan and she walks down, he's like, "Hey, you guys need anything?" And so it's like, and he's like, sexual harassment. We got to talk to Monty about this cases.
He's no Stingray.
Yeah. So like that guy, yeah. And then Dale, because Ansley, kind of a blonde. It's very well beat into you as you watch the series. She goes to take a shower up after basically her boyfriend only wants to sleep with her original boyfriend who came over to her with her didn't want to sleep with her. She's like he only wanted to have sex with her, and she just wanted to basically be in his arms, sleep on the couch. And he ends up leaving the next day. So she's depressed. She goes take a shower. She's up there. She's crying in the shower. Dale, and this is kind of weird because it's a fault on Dale. So even though the door wasn't locked, Dale walks in there. He hears a shower running. So he just strips his clothes, gets in there. They see each other. They scream like Freaky Friday. She kicks him in the nuts and punches him in the face. And it was just kind of really weird.
Maybe he's going to bust her cherry.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, Vegman. Yeah, we've got another stream in a few minutes.
Yeah.
The way you've been talking, are you going to be able to get your cold shower in time to be on time for the next stream?
I got my burrito, bro. I'm ready to go.
All right, thanks everybody for showing up here too. We like this TV show a lot. Usually Artemisia don't do that a lot, although we might be preparing for Miami Nights coming up here too. Anything else you need to pimp out there, sir?
I just want to say, I should check out our Tulsa King review. We did season 1 and season 2, and check out other playlists. I think Sunday we're going to be doing the episode 5 of Reacher.
Yes,
Eric, you're welcome to join us if you want to. That'll be 7 Eastern. And then next Tuesday, I'm not sure what we're doing. I mean,
either Gene Hackman movies or something. We'll figure something out. Yeah. But yeah, that's the return of the poll for the Tuesday night here. We wanted to fit this one in.
Yeah. So thank you all for being here. Thank you to Marania Desert Rose, Jay Lucian, and MKF30 who are in the chat. Anybody's watching the replay.
Not the last season, MKF. That's on the short list. I just finished it. Good night now.
Subscribe. And as always, we just ask that you stay extreme.
Rob, stop him, please.